Hello. There we go. Yay. I'd say that we are live.
I think we are. We're finally good to go.
Yeah, just wait for some people to hop on.
Awesome. So those of you that are maybe watching live stream in Steph's group, Steph, what are we doing?
We are going to, Shannon, I'm so excited, is going to reveal my archetypes and how to use them in my business for success, activate my success. Effortless success.
Effortless success. Yeah, that's a key word there. Not effort-free, as I like to say, effortless. I've had so many clients over the years go, what do you mean, like not effort-free? I went, no, there's still some effort.
Yeah. That's actually an interesting distinction. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
When you say, I feel weird saying effortless because they're going to think there's no effort, but it's effortless, not effort-free.
That's it.
That's awesome. I didn't think of that perspective on it.
Yeah. I know. So it's too many conversations of women saying, what do you mean there's going to still be effort? And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to be really clear. This is effortless, not effort-free. Very, very cool. Awesome. So when should we get started? You can wait for people to join, or people might be watching live stream.
Maybe 2 more minutes. So it's
good to go. I'm excited to be sitting here I know what Steph's Thrive Factor archetypes are. And if you don't even know what that is, I'll be telling you what that's all about very soon. But she's got no idea.
I know. I'm so excited.
I know. It's very cool to see. This is always I think the most fun bit when I'm working with a client and profiling and teaching them, or really introducing them, as what we kind of describe it in the Thrive Factor coach community, as introducing someone to themselves, but through the lens of their Thrive Factor archetypes, because we've got the coach is sitting there, got the knowledge and information, and our client, the gorgeous woman in the hot seat, was like, I don't know what I'm about to learn. Discover, is this going to be good? Is this going to be bad? So it tends to be a lot of beautiful energy building up of the anticipation.
Oh no, I would never be afraid. I've always forewarned is forearmed. Even if it's bad news, you can always do something about it.
Yeah. Well, I can say I've easily profiled over 1,000 women over such a long time now, and I'm yet to have someone tell me that it's all wrong, that what I shared with her is not who she is, or that she has had a negative experience. So let's keep the consistency with that, Steph.
Yeah. Okay.
No pressure.
As people are hopping on, say hello. Tell us where you're watching from. If you're
Steph, you're going to watch the comments on Facebook, aren't you? Yeah.
In the evening or in the morning?
Well, that's it. It depends on where people are joining us from. It could be anywhere.
Yeah. Ooh, hey, Carl.
Or if people are catching the replay, make sure you tell us. Steph and I are going to spend some time coming back into the replay and comments so we can answer questions and cheer you on for whatever you're learning and insight has been.
Yes, hashtag replay.
Yeah. I know, or whatever you want to put.
Cool. All right,
don't follow rules, do we? I look at the combination of our archetypes and having spent a lot more time over the time we've known each other, and like indulging in reading your content, and you and I are both women that don't follow rules. Nope. Even though we have different archetypes that are contributing to that, we're definitely not rule followers. Yeah.
Exciting. Cool.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
All right. Let's do this.
Yay.
Let's hit go.
All right. So I'm going to dive in and do a bit of an intro and let everyone know a little bit about what the Thrive Factor is, if that's okay, as a good place to start. But we're going to very quickly get into Steph's archetypes. So the Thrive Factor is a framework of archetypes. There are 12 of them in this framework, and it is a female-centric framework. So it is designed for women or those identifying as female or as women. And it's something I created or began creating in 2009 and first started using with clients in 2010. So the framework and the archetypes having their 12th birthday this year. So there's which is, it's very cool. And, you know, in the early days of something, you know what it's like when you're first in business or you're first using something, it feels like it's like such an infancy stage for everyone. All of a sudden, a decade goes past and now we're at 12 years. So I've used this for a very long time. And so when I talk about the Thrive Factor framework, I often say it's a reliable, proven system, because it is something that I've used, but I also have now women that I have worked with and certified as licensed Thrive Factor coaches who are using it in their businesses to work with the women in different ways that they work with as well, which is very cool. But an archetype, Steph, you know what an archetype is. Do you want to tell everyone what you understand it to be? Because I still think it's a word that people like, I sort of know, but I'm not really sure.
I think didn't start back in a long time ago with Carl Jung?
Even before. So the word archetype actually goes back to the ancient philosophers like Plato and those kind of, you know, those dudes way back when. And it is, and then Jung probably is the next person, Carl Jung in the early 1900s, 1920s, kind of that framework of time, used it more. So, and I guess that's where it became more of a word that in modern language we would understand. When I first started using it, I get people look at me and roll their eyes and go really blank. But these days, at least people recognize the word. They might not know what it means, but in its simplest form, archetype goes back to, you know, that ancient kind of language of first impression, arche and tupos. So that's the impression that we give off, but it's been used in the framework of psychology. And so, yes, which is why, and what we were saying before, that there is how many hundreds and thousands of probably different archetype frameworks around the world. There's no kind of one original one, but a lot of the work of Carl Jung, and as I said, in the early 1900s, really cemented kind of key archetypes. And then I think Carolyn Myss probably was the next big person that is more well known who's worked with archetypes, and that was more in the, goodness me, early 2000s, I guess, from memory. So all blur. But I've loved archetypes. I've been a nerdy person who has been fascinated with human behaviour since my teens, and that's when I first started reading Jung's work, which is reflected in my archetypes. In fact, Steph, the one archetype that you and I share is the one that contributes to my nerdy need to know things.
So, I got that.
Yeah. You definitely got that. So one archetype you and I have the same. As I said, there are 12 archetypes in the framework, and each individual Thrive Factor profile, as we call it in the whole Thrive Factor world, could have a combination of anywhere between 3 and 6 archetypes. One of our Thrive Factor coaches has legitimately got 7, but she's the only woman that I have ever profiled in the 1,000+ women that I've profiled or worked with their archetypes that has that many. And, you know, it's interesting when I teach this often in a group format too. Sometimes women that have more feel like they've got too much complexity within them when they look at someone who's got 3 or 4 archetypes, and the women who've got 3 or 4 are like, oh, I feel ripped off, like I should have more. Like, it's so interesting, the envy that different women have around the archetypes that they do have or don't have. And when they learn more about all 12, there's often an envy for, and you've actually got the one archetype that I see more often than not is the one that others have envy for. So yes, so we'll see when we get to that one, see what your relationship with it is. It's an archetype that often women either have a kind of a love, and not so much hate, but a love or an unsure relationship with. So I'm intrigued to see how your relationship with that part of yourself has been. So as I said, I know you know a little bit about archetypes and you've used them in your work with branding. So do you want to just tell everyone a little bit about how you've used it? And then when I introduce you to your 3 archetypes, I'm going to tell you high level about what they are, but I also want to bring it in to talk about its relationship to branding, because this is your space, you know, your love.
I don't particularly use them in branding when I work with clients, but I have done it. I have learned all about it. I've got a certification in a master brand course where I did learn about them all and what mine were. And the Explorer one, which I was surprised about, was the top one. But the more you read it, the more you realize, oh, this is, I guess you could say it's kind of like reading your star sign, not the astrology where they apply it to everybody in the world, you know, like everybody today is going to have a really good day. Well, I don't know about that if you're an Aries, but it's that whole personality thing where you feel like it just nuances and stuff, and how to nurture it and bring things out that might be hidden that you didn't know about, but you know is true, and how you can relate to your audience as well. And then there's the shadow side of it. You've got the open side, then you've got the side where you learn specific things that this is also a personality trait, but it's not, I don't want to say negative because nothing is negative, but it's something to be aware of, because if it comes up, you can fix it or change it or flip it around. Does that make sense? Like the shadow, I guess?
Definitely. So, traditional archetypal psychology did use the terms light and shadow. So, and it was, I'm not, I guess, a big fan of using those words. And in fact, with the Thrive Factor framework, I changed them because, you know, I was creating this thing. I can make it whatever I want. But the reason why I wasn't a fan of it is that the shadow was so often automatically assumed to be negative. No. And it's not. No. In fact, when we can understand what's within our shadow and we can integrate the wisdom, the lessons, the learning, the magic, the whatever, the gifts that are in there, we can become more whole and more light. Yeah. So I did a program earlier this year, so it was in March of 2022. It's a brand new one called Illuminate, which is specifically around the shadow aspect of the Thrive Factor archetypes. It was such a powerful experience to lead and also to witness a lot of the evolutionary learning and awareness and celebration that came with the women, even though some of it was really tough and really confronting. But in the Thrive Factor framework, we use for the light, we talk about it being strengths. And also this framework is created, yes, for women, but it's created for women in leadership and business. And leadership is not necessarily in a formal kind of corporate or business setting. It's really self-leadership. And so I wanted to use the word strengths, and we have access to all the strengths within our archetypes. And then the shadow we've referred to as potential challenges. And the word potential is really key, because you and I may have, for example, the same 3 archetypes, but you have a fourth one. And that fourth archetype can completely change the way that those other 3 relate to each other, the harmony they may have or not have, and how you express those in the world. So when you read an archetype, his prop I prepared earlier, I've got one behind me as well, but this is the kind of referred to as the Thrive Factor Bible, if you like. So this is my book around the archetypes. When you read an individual archetype that you may have, you want to look at those challenges as potential and not take them all on board and decide all of those things are going to be bad and are going to be negative and are going to, you want to get rid of them all. In fact, it's being really mindful of, well, this could happen. This could be what is going to be experienced. And when it does happen, when those things do rise up for you, then you're better armed to go, that's okay, I understand where that's coming from, because this is attributed to this archetype or this combination of, say, 2 archetypes that might no longer be in harmony. And I can use my strengths to work with it. Yeah, that makes a big difference. We talked in introducing this session and in promoting it as, giving you an insight into how to unlock your effortless success zone or activate more effortless success in your life and your business. And the whole premise behind how we create more effortless success and really amplify that is to actively and consciously use more of our strengths. So to be aware of what our strengths are in our archetypes and to use those in our day. When you first learn about them, it can be a little bit clunky and you're kind of like, okay, let me think about what strengths I've got and how I can use them. But when we can kind of let that thinking part go and just let ourselves be who we are, trust in ourselves, work with our intuition, with our magic, with all of those kind of the wisdom, we end up just using our strengths. Yeah. And that's where things get easier. The mind chatter and the judgment and criticism and things that we can often go through, that can fall away. We can be more in our activated state of flow. And then if a challenge does come up and goes from potential to actualized, we use our strengths to counteract that. And this is when we create that effortless success zone. So, all right, you want to know what your archetypes are, don't you? She's like, yes. So you have 3. I'm going to share what the names of them are, and then I would love you to choose which one you want to meet first and hear more about. So you have the shapeshifter alchemist, the mentor teacher, and then the queen ruler. So those are your 3 archetypes. So which one do you want to meet first?
The first one.
Shapeshifter Alchemist?
Yeah.
All right. So there are images for all of the archetypes as well. So this is the Shapeshifter Alchemist. You can see she has a mask and a cape. So this is often the woman of mystery. Yeah. She is the archetype that is very flexible, adaptable, versatile. She moves and shifts, literally shapeshifter. She moves and shifts with the times, with the energy, with whatever's going on. She is a woman that needs to have a lot of variety in her life and her work. So doing the same thing over and over for you is not going to be, it's not going to cut it. It's not going to be something that you're going to ever find fun, and it's going to be effortful, not effortless. Yeah. So while I know you're very focused on branding and the way that you work with branding with your incredible clients, the fact that you're working with such different clients that are going to have different brands, and you're creating a whole new kind of identity and visual representation for them, is where you're going to get a lot of your variety. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But what often happens when it comes to a business sense for a shapeshifter alchemist is that this is a woman who we often say is either multimodal, so she's got lots of qualifications, lots of expertise, likes to do a lot of things, likes to include a lot of things. And when she's putting herself out there, often can be very unlike your brand, which is very clear and very specific about what you do. Often it comes across, these are the businesswomen that we see out there that seem to do a bit of everything, and we're kind of not really sure what they do. And so often they will have the shapeshifter alchemist, and they're trying to do all of these different things and to be the magical individual who can approach things at such different ways as much as they possibly can. So the way to really do that is to harness in onto what is my main thing that I love, what brings me a sense of magic, because the alchemist part of the shapeshifter alchemist is a magical aspect to you. It's the only archetype that I use the word magic, and when I use the word magic, I never use it with a definition or a predefined, this is what magic means. I really want you to think about what feels magical to you. And the key for a shapeshifter alchemist is to welcome more magic into your day every day. Yeah. So does magic make sense to you?
Yes.
As a word? Yeah. Yeah. I'm yet to have a shapeshifter alchemist come back to me and go, I don't know what that magic stuff's all about. And usually it's like, oh yeah, awesome, I can do more of that. Yeah. And to understand what the true energy of the alchemist is, which is around transformation. So an alchemist is someone who can take something of seemingly little or no value and turn it into something of incredible wealth and value, and where it's perceived as something of rich and a opulence, if you like, which fits with your queen ruler beautifully. So talk me through, like, does that make sense to you in terms of how you work with your clients and the branding experience that they get to undertake? I'm just going to bring my cat up who wants to say hello while you chat, Steph.
Practically my tagline. Like, yeah. I call myself the Brand Alchemist, and I
know you do.
mediocre, invisible, unseen, unknown businesses into highly desirable, premium, highly paid brands. It's like alchemy right there.
That's it. Holy shit. That's it. So the more that you are able to really embody and express that, the greater your magnetism is going to be, and your effortlessness. Because your effortlessness expands and amplifies as well, because you are in your space of doing what comes naturally to you. Yeah, you're playing out true to type, if you like. So keep doing more of that. keep honoring that expression of what you stand for. Yeah. You will find that clients will talk about having worked with you as being like a magical experience. Yeah. Shapeshifter alchemists just create magic. Yeah. And as I said, it's without any definition of what magic means, because it can mean so many different things to each of us. But that'll be a word that'll get commonly used, and will also be things like, I don't kind of know what we did or what happened, but it was like magic. Yeah. Ooh. And you're like, tick, I'm on the right track. It's working. Yeah. So one of the challenges that can sometimes come up, so there's potential challenges for the shapeshifter alchemist, is that need for variety. So this is an archetype that can get bored very quickly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So being mindful of how quickly you can kind of drop something that seemingly was this is what I'm all into, this is really great, I'm really connected to this, and suddenly it's like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Being mindful of that, because that can create a disconnect with our audience that we spend, as businesswomen, we spend a lot of time building a community, building an audience, building a following. So just being mindful of that. And one way to work with that is to honor the fact that you need variety and to have plenty of variety in your life. So you're not feeling like you need to put too many different things into your business. But at the same time, where you can use this as a strength is that it's not uncommon for a shapeshifter alchemist to be able to be very capable delivering a number of different things at once, a number of different programs or ways to work, or have many solutions for your clients. It's not about going and advertising them all, marketing them all to the big wide world. It's just about being mindful that the variety is important for you to honor in yourself and look at how you can bring that in so that you have a sense of kind of fresh excitement, magic in your work, and even in the way that you're marketing and showing up.
Cool.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Can you think of times where you have got bored or got disconnected or kind of thrown things out and gone, yeah, no, I'm not doing that anymore?
For the last 12 years at least, I have done graphic design, website design, Facebook ads, SEO, funnels, copywriting, branding. I have done everything. Groups coaching, groups, programs, one-on-one, this. And I get my variety from branding, I think, from the fact that each client that comes in, I'm fully focused on them, and it's a completely unique, different experience. It's like a whole new thing again. It may be my same process, but everybody's different. It's like a fingerprint in their soul, and the designs are so different. I do not follow trends. None of my client stuff looks the same.
And I love that. I've noticed that. Yeah, I've noticed that about your work. And it was one thing that I really love, Steph, because so often I think when you follow someone for a period of time, you can pick their, the design and it's in terms of what a design is creating. And that's not, to me, honoring the individual that they're working with at all. So, yes, awesome. That's very cool. So, so the Shapeshifter Alchemist, really her whole theme is around magic and alchemy. So just need to call yourself the Brand Alchemist already. So you're on track with all of that. And it feels to me like in the time, even the year or so that I've known you in the online space, that you've got more solid in who you are and what you're like, how you're showing up. Yeah. Would I be right in saying that?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. How cool is that?
I know. I've got very cool.
Yeah, good. So you now have the mentor teacher and the shape and the queen ruler. So where do you want to go to next?
I want to save the queen for last.
Okay, it's such a queen thing to do too. I love it. So the mentor teacher is the archetype that you and I have the same. So here she is here. Yeah, the nerdy, obsessed with learning, this archetype. I refer to her as the wisdom woman. I find that she is a really common archetype in a good way in the women that are in my community that I refer to as ingenious souls. And one of the ways that I work as a coach with my business clients is really working with them to take that wisdom, all the knowing that they have, the lived and learned experience, and turn it into profitable income streams, because it's such an important thing for us to be able to monetize what we know. And that's when if we take the Shapeshifter Alchemist language, that's when the mentor teacher is really embedded in to be who she is, and then her magic comes alive is when she's able to take what she knows, all of that lived and learned experience, and actually to turn it into income producing things from a business perspective. But this is the archetype that has this huge thirst for knowledge. As I said before, the nerdy part of me in my teens who wanted to understand human behavior, so started reading Carl Jung. This is before the internet, when we couldn't kind of just jump on and check on something on our phones. You had to go to a library. You will remember this. Some of the women watching or people watching may not. Yeah. When we had to go and research, and wait for a book to come in from another library because it wasn't in the one that you had. You had to look up an old-fashioned catalogue to find information, or that the encyclopedia actually had decent information for you to actually reference. But, it doesn't stop a mentor teacher, I should say. She just wants to learn. and she wants to learn as much as she can about the things that she's interested in at the time. So she has a huge depth of knowing. But equally, the life that she's had where she's gone and done more formal learning, and that may look like qualifications and everything from kind of personal development stuff right through to formal business or career learning. She also comes to this world having a depth of wisdom anyway, knowing things. And sometimes when a mentor teacher is little, so let's say, up to maybe mid-primary school or kindergarten kind of age, that 5, 6, 8 even, we can have experience. This is an archetype that loves to share too. She likes to talk. She likes to tell people things. She likes to teach. Yeah, and I've definitely seen you do this in a good way. You pick a mentor teacher, I say, pick a mentor teacher a mile away, because she's the one who's always got, oh, Lord, let me tell you about, or I've just got this thing I learned, or let me share this thing I know. But often when we're little or younger, we share things, often with the kind of the adults in our world, whether they be relatives or teachers or, that kind of in a scenario. And we can have an experience where someone will turn around and go, you shouldn't, how do you know that? Or you shouldn't know that. And sometimes that can, for some mentor teachers, activate one of those potential challenges becomes, which is all around that I don't know enough, or I can't prove what I know. So it becomes an actualized thing, and we can then go into a space of almost like a debt that we create, where we spend our life gathering pieces of paper, qualifications, things to prove that we know the stuff we know. Because we can let that go, that BS go, and just focusing on, actually, I have this knowing and I don't need to prove where it comes from. I need to trust it and work with that intuition and that real honoring of wisdom. Then this archetype and her thriving is just amplified off the scale. Yeah, rather than coming to the, I don't know enough and I've got to go and prove things. So what I often see this happening, particularly in the coaching industry, is that a coach might promote a program she has, and if she's a mentor teacher, she's stuffed it full of so many moving parts because she needs to make sure it's of value, and she needs to give everybody all the information she has, forgetting that the audience might be here and she's kind of here. So she needs to bring it back down to the level where the audience wants to rise to, not where she is.
Yeah.
So we overwhelm, we confuse, and we do that to ourselves, and we can't meet the delivery that we've created for ourselves. I say that because I've done it.
Yeah.
Don't know now. I've done it. Yeah. But really honoring the wisdom and working with the knowing that you have around things, bringing in pieces of information that are truly going to be of support for your client experience, rather than letting them know stuff just because you know, which is often the case for a mentor teacher. As a student, the mentor teacher is the one who's always got more questions than anybody else and contributes to the class more than anyone else, and often tries to out-teach the actual person teaching at the front of the room, right? I know, I've done it. And it is a laughable thing, but this is how true these archetypes are for us. These are parts of our personality that show up whether we realize it or not. I have had experiences in workshops, online, in person, and retreats that I posted where there's a mentor teacher who's trying to make sure that I know she knows stuff, and it's like, oh, stop trying to out teach me. I'm not here to know more than you. But it's coming often from a place of, I need to prove that I've got value in this space. Yeah. I need to make sure people know I know things. So, which I always find quite funny. So clearly you've done that. Like that reaction. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So what would you say your relationship with your mentor teacher has been like? How much kind of teaching have you done in the work that you've done?
Oh, tons.
Yeah.
I love to teach. I love to mentor.
Yeah.
I love to I kind of feel like it might turn into a little bit of like opinionated kind of stuff.
That would
where you're
like, by your queen ruler as well.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, no, definitely will influence your mentor teacher. My visionary creator and liberator engineer archetypes influence my mentor teacher in the way that I teach. But mentor teachers, we just teach in the world. We mentor in the world. We don't have to have any formal teaching qualifications of any sort to have often been in paid roles where we are paid to actually teach and to mentor others, no matter what it is that we do, career, business, anything, and or even for a lot of mums, they end up in kind of a mentoring role somehow to do with something to do with their kids or the things that children are involved in. You know, it doesn't, and they not necessarily teachers in a formal sense. You know, but we are here where the I guess the hubs of knowledge and wisdom, where the person that people come to because it'll be, well, Steph will know, and if she doesn't know, she'll know how to find out.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and about everything.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it's the projector in me, or maybe it's this, but I feel like even when people don't ask for it, I feel like I should teach them or tell them. Yeah. Like, and they're probably like, shut up, I didn't ask.
Yeah, it is a compulsion within us to share what we know. And a mentor teacher can find it really challenging to be in a group environment, particularly where there's obviously, to us, a big gap in knowledge, and we've got some answers for that. And yet it can be highly inappropriate for us to actually contribute and share. But also there can be a piece which would be amplified by your projector, for sure, where we can sit there and go, well, why come people why do they not realize that I know this stuff? Like, why is no one asking me? Yeah. So there's such a different ways that it can show up. But the other thing about the mentor teacher that's really key to understand, and this is also a key part to amplify your effortless success, is that she's the archetype that is here to guide transformation. So this is where more the mentoring comes in than the actual teacher part, is that people that are in a space of say, crossroads in their life, needing to shift and change. So if I think directly to you in the work that you do, someone's brand evolution, whether it's a brand, coming to a new brand, or needing, because they're new in business, or they get to a point in their business where they need to rebrand. Yeah. So they're at a need to transform, something needs to change. So this works beautifully with your Shapeshifter Alchemist, because of course, transformation and alchemy go hand in hand together so beautifully. So you just honoring that part of who you are is, again, activating more effortlessness and creating more opportunities for thriving, which is a very, very cool thing. So mentor, teacher, and shapeshifter alchemist are the magical wisdom woman. She's also the queen ruler. Yeah. So the queen ruler archetype, here she is here, little image of her. These are kind of lots to represent lots of faces. So this is an archetype that has incredible leadership potential, and she often wants to lead on a large scale with a large following. Yeah, it doesn't mean she will, but she often does want to. And it's often I found over there many years of working with queen rulers, and I have a lot of them in my life as friends and also as business, in business relationships, that often that desire to lead at that kind of large empire-ish scale is something that she doesn't necessarily share with everybody. Sometimes that can be because of an innate kind of threat that's often felt within the queen ruler. And I like to attribute that sense of threat and lack of safety to things like Disney, because what's the predominant version of the queen? It's the evil queen. Yeah. And she's nasty, she's mean, she's horrible, she's gonna behead you if you do something wrong. And there is a very dark shadow aspect of the queen ruler who can be like that. But the queen rulers I tend to find and meet in my world, they are more of that in the space of being in their strengths and their light, and they are very focused on creating beauty in the world. So again, this is where the designer in you comes out again. They love to create beautiful experiences, to have beautiful spaces, to have opulence and, this regal sense of having beautiful, incredible, exquisite things and experiences and people in your life. Yeah. And you show others that that's possible. Yeah, not everyone's going to jump on board with that, but there are certainly other archetypes that are aspired to have that kind of lived experience that don't necessarily have the queen ruler. Yeah. So what else can I tell you about the queen ruler? When she's in that space of her strength, she is clear and confident about who she is. She knows what she's here to do in the world. She does have opinions. She's confident in those opinions and she can back them up. She doesn't like to be wrong, but if she is wrong, she will gracefully, sometimes with a little bit of push, but gracefully will recognize that she's maybe not said the right thing or not done the right thing and move on. Now, though, if a queen ruler does feel threatened in any sense for any reason, she can sometimes get to the space of doing that beheading like we see in the kind of Disney stories or different, fairy tales and books, where a queen ruler can at pushed to extreme, can remove someone or something or a group of experience or something from their life because it no longer serves them. Yes, I don't know if you've ever done that, but often queen rulers like, yeah, maybe not a lot, but there has definitely been times where that's been a thing, and it's like, yeah, decision made, done and dusted, no emotion involved, move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not always people, often things.
Yeah, who's got time for that though?
Yeah, that's it.
It's not time to stick around if something's not.
No, but not everybody's like that. So we might not talk, we'll see how we go with time, but there's 9 other archetypes here, and there are some other archetypes, the advocate rescuer, the mother nurturer particularly, that are far more sensitive emotionally, and they are not able to make quick decisions and act on them like that and just move on like a queen ruler is.
Yeah,
they often sit back and go, how did you just like what? But you didn't take into consideration all of everybody else's feelings. Like, I didn't need to. I made a decision. I moved on. Yeah.
Yeah, I do care about people's feelings, and it cuts sometimes. But I also am an Aries, like a triple Aries. I'm impatient. Yeah. I'm like,
yes, patient, fiery.
Hurry up, make a decision. Let's do this.
Move on.
Say it. What take you so long?
yeah, that's too funny. But the queen aspect of how she shows up in the world, as I said before, it's this regal leader, and she's here to guide others along a certain path, whatever that looks like. And for every queen ruler, that will be different. In a business perspective, I do often see women who, have large communities, work in the space where they work with beauty and branding, frequently have the queen ruler. I've got a client at the moment who has only just recently learnt her archetypes. And while she is a consultant in a very kind of traditional corporate space, she's had, what'd she say to me? She had like a gap year a couple of years ago and went off and learnt interior design. Ooh. Well, that's her queen ruler though. That's exactly. And I said to her, I can't wait to tell you about what's contributed to that and why that was a thing that you were interested in doing. And when I talked to her about the queen ruler, she's like, that's hilarious. Like, I can't believe that was the thing that contributed to me going and having my adult gap year of confusion. But I actually did at the same time. I nourished myself because I learned about design and spatial awareness. And, I was surrounded by beautiful, opulent things all the time. She goes, I realized it wasn't what I wanted to do for business, but for a moment I thought it was. Yeah. Yeah, and look at your reaction to, interior design. Yeah, it's a queen ruler thing. I have another beautiful friend who's a queen ruler who's based in Perth where I am, and I was opening a second office for her business a few years ago, and I had such joy in listening to her share about her whole experience of sourcing all of the fittings, the layout, the design, who she was going to get involved to do even like the mural that was painted on a particular wall in the office, like this whole thing, because she was just so in love with every aspect of designing the most ideal environment to create the best experience for herself, her team, and her clients. Yeah, so that's the queen ruler energy. Yeah, she's also someone that you wouldn't mess with because you just like, there's this kind of, this is how it is. Yeah. That's a queen ruler. So queen rulers, they sometimes can feel a little bit, well, who am I? It's that energy of, but who am I to be this, have this presence and be this individual in the world? Yeah. So that's kind of where the potential challenge could become actualized. And queen rulers can sometimes feel threatened by other queen rulers and others leading on a large scale. Comparison can come up sometimes for queen rulers. And when it measures up as I'm not enough, or I don't fit, or who am I to be thinking I can be this, whoever I decided I want to be in the world, that can create a disharmony within yourself. If that's the case and that happens from your queen ruler's perspective, your mentor teacher could then mistrust her wisdom, and your shapeshifter alchemist could let go of the magic and just not, just kind of feel like you're a bit all over the place and a bit, rather than being able to be, filled with the energy and the magic of variety, feel like you're just chopping and changing all over the place and you don't know what you're doing. So this is where they can kind of influence each other. And there are frequent times when we are going to be in the greatest of harmony with our archetypes, and other times where we're a bit like, this isn't working, I don't know why. So I really encourage the women that I work with when we're working with your archetypes to come back to, trusting your instinct and just to have a open conversation. So the therapist in me likes to talk about dialoguing as a way that we can work with our archetypes, because they are parts of ourselves, and literally it's like we're looking at them like our 3 best girlfriends. So you can go, okay, I've got 3 new friends now. They're called, Shapeshifter, Alchemist, Queen, Ruler, and Mentor Teacher. But have conversations with them so you're keeping them active in your day, journaling to them, asking them, who needs attention right now? Because often what happens when one of our potential challenges becomes actualized, it's a part of us that's not being nourished and nurtured, or not getting a voice, or not getting to show up and contribute in the way that we want to. All of our archetypes want to contribute equally. For you, you will probably find that your Queen, Ruler, and Mentor Teacher will be trying to both take the lead. Yeah, there'll be more, there's the dominant archetypes from a leader perspective. And if your Mentor Teacher is very strong, your Queen, Ruler might feel like, wait a second, I'm supposed to be in charge here. Let me get back in front, right? So, so just keep like this open kind of conversation with them, so that when you're feeling like something's not working, where things are effortful, not effortless, when you feel a sense of disharmony or just there's a lack of flow, check in with yourself and go, okay, but what's going on for me? Which of my archetypes is needing some more love or nurturing or attention? Or which of my strengths that I actually have that are available to use? What can I use? What's one thing I can do today that really reminds me of a strength that I can contribute to my world, and therefore the world of everybody else that I interact with? So Queen, Ruler, yes, makes sense.
It does. It does.
Queen Rulers tend to love that archetype. There's an occasional Queen Ruler who hasn't necessarily had a good relationship. Just like with every archetype that exists in the Thrive Factor framework, we can have one of our archetypes in our profile that we maybe don't feel as connected to, or we've had a not as harmonious relationship with as others. Is there anything that, any questions that you have about what I've shared with you so far at this really high level?
That's a good question. Do I have any questions?
Yes.
Mentor Teacher. No, I really freaking dig it. Like, It sounds so spot on.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I do get that the Queen what?
Queen Ruler.
Queen Ruler. I think it comes out to where if I feel like I'm not being seen, I'm getting annoyed. Like, hello.
Yes. Yeah, I'm here. I've showed up. Why are you not interacting with me? Yeah, very much. There can be a sense of entitlement sometimes for Queen Rulers, because you do feel a sense of importance in the world as part of who you are. And I remember years ago sending a profile report, which I'm going to send to Steph after we finish this, send to you so you can read more about the archetypes. But I remember sending that to her, and she replied to me, she's like, thank goodness someone's finally realized that I am a queen. Like, that was her response to me. And she's in her mid-40s at the time. And she's like, I've always felt this sense of this is who I am, and like this regalness, and everyone's kind of ignored me. So just what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. But it's not like a hoity-toity thing. I don't feel like that at all. But I do feel like when there's groups of other women, like, and you want to interact with that, and then you just, maybe it's the inner child of the queen, like the baby queen that is just like,
well, the baby queen, when she's not,
am I being ignored? Why am I not in the cool girls club? Why am I not?
Baby queen can be the spoiled princess. So that's how that can show up at times. Have the tantrum, have the the demanding kind of energy to like, but what about me? Why am I being left out? I feel that sometimes. Honestly. And being able to be honest with yourself around that, go, this is a part of who I am, but often when we don't have a self-awareness, we can find ourselves like with different behaviors and responses, like mindsets, beliefs, emotions, all kinds of things, and feel maybe a sense of this isn't quite right, or I don't like how this makes me feel. I don't know where it's coming from, kind of just move on. Whereas so I really see self-awareness as one of the most untapped and incredible resources for life and business, because when we can understand more about who we are, we're able to have a greater often emotional intelligence, so that we don't have a, not inappropriate, but kind of wildly inappropriate often response, often on an emotional or behavioral kind of perspective, to something that maybe didn't warrant that. And I'm not here ever to profess that we need to live some kind of beautiful, controlled, I've got all my shit together kind of life, because that's not realistic either. We're human. We have things change and happen to us all the time, but being able to work with that so that we don't feel like we're being depleted, or a word I often uses contracted. We want to be expanded and amplified and thriving, not contracted and feeling like I'm barely surviving and in a kind of just trying to be safe and secure mode. Yeah, which is very cool. So, as I said, Steph, I'm going to send you a copy of the Thrive Factor profile report. So for anyone that is listening in, this is something that comes as part of the Thrive Factor experience, which is this profiling experience, where you'll get detailed information as a high-level introduction to the archetype, and then looking at the archetype through what I call the 4 M's of momentum. So these are 4 different lenses that are really focused on leadership and business, and they are mindset, marketing, money, and magnetism. So you can get a better understanding of the strengths and potential challenges of each archetype through those different perspectives as well. So I'm really intrigued once I've sent that to you and you have a chance to have a look at it. Mentor teachers always read it, because the mentor teacher needs to know all the stuff, right? Yeah. Like, you can always tell who's going to do the homework and read reports and do things in my programs, the mentor teachers. But yeah, to hear what you think, and if there's anything else that you want to know. And, if we even put a discussion maybe in the, boss level branding group, so that people can kind of get that interaction perhaps of understanding more about you. So that is you in a nutshell. Now, there are 9, high level kind of, this is who you are in 40 minutes or whatever it was. It's a lot more. And often when I'm doing a Thrive Factor experience like this one-on-one with somebody, I offer either a one-on-one single experience where we just have this one session where you get to meet your archetypes and get access, you get your report, or I have a 3-session experience that I call the amplified version of the Thrive Factor experience, where the first session you meet your archetypes, the second session we look at it through the lens of your business, or if you're in your career, and the third session we look at the interaction between the archetypes. You can greater understand where there can be natural harmony and where there may be disharmony. Yeah, because when we understand that, then we go, okay, now I get what's going on. These 2 archetypes aren't getting on. Someone's having a tantrum, like being the spoiled princess, or someone's not happy, or someone feels left out. And this is what I can do to support that, so that I feel this greater level of internal harmony and therefore more thriving. So that's very cool. But yeah, there are 9 other archetypes. Do you want, I don't know about what you're feeling about availability of time, but do you want me to talk about a couple more that I commonly see in women in business?
Go for it.
Yeah, all right, cool. Let me just have a look and see what jumps out. Always trust that I get to share whatever's right at the time. So the inspirer believer. There's someone here, there's a lot of fire in the energy there. So I thought this may have shown up in your profile just from the interaction I've had with you, but it didn't. I think the way that you show up with inspiration is your mentor, teacher, and shapeshifter alchemist combination. Yeah. The inspirer believer archetype, this is one of the 4 that I have. I often refer to her as the cheerleader and the potentialist. So she's the one that's all out there kind of, very much in the coach industry. You see a lot of inspirer believers. They want to be inspired. They want to inspire. They get excited about ridiculous kinds of things, and they love to share that excited energy. So the flames in the background of that image are as much the representation of the spark of inspiration as they are awareness that we can easily burn ourselves out or feel burned out by the amount of energy we put out, and then not actually nurturing and working with that energy. And so inspirer, as I said, very common in women in business. I find that in reflection that a lot of the time an inspirer believer in an employment environment doesn't necessarily feel like she belongs, because her excitement and her inspiration can often be like, oh, it's like a bit over the top. Like, where's this kind of energy coming from? Well, that's not how we do things around here. And her energy of wanting to be, sharing all that excitement and which, whatever else is also contributing to that from her other archetypes gets pushed aside. So she doesn't cope so well in those environments, and is much better in her own environment where she can go with the flow, take inspired action, all those kind of, businessy words that we see. But inspired believers get that. They don't necessarily good at it, but they get what that means. This is also the archetype of, I call her the potentialist, where she has an incredible gift for seeing the good in others and a huge desire for them to see it in themselves. that can also be, like the mentor teacher, an oversharing aspect when you have this archetype of the inspirer believer. Because it's like, you just want to tell everybody all the good things that they could do and all the amazing things that they, all the stuff that they could bring to the world. And a lot of people don't really care. They don't want to know what you think about them. They don't want really, really are not bothered at all about the fact that you can see they've got this incredible potential to do something like this over here. So I see this a lot, as I said, in the coaching industry, where a coach will be like, and I told my client this is what they should do because I could see it clear as day, and it's, they've got all the ability to do it, and they didn't want to do it, or they weren't interested, or they told me I was crazy. Yeah. That kind of feedback to an inspired believer can be like a dagger to the heart, where someone said, this thing that you can see about how good I could be, or how amazing I could be, or how inspirational I could be. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't like that. I don't want to go with that. So it's such an interesting dynamic. But yeah, beautiful archetype. They all are. I love all. I often get asked which is my favorite. I have to be what's it called, inclusive mother of the Thrive Factor archetypes, and love all 12 equally. Yeah. But there certainly are some where occasionally we'll see it in a profile. I'm like, oh, that could be tougher than other profiles that I see in combinations of archetypes.
What's the tougher?
And then another one. Sorry,
what's the tougher one?
This one, actually. Here's what I prepared earlier, the mediator diplomat. So you can see there's black and white, night and day, there's scales in the middle. This is the archetype, there's the truth teller. Yeah. Yes. Again, I thought that you may have had this from my interaction with you, but where this is coming from for you is your queen ruler, in terms of being clear about what is important, like what's right, what's important, that kind of thing. It's not uncommon to see the mediator, diplomat, and queen ruler in the profile together, though. So the mediator, diplomat archetype, the truth teller, she's here to bring fairness, truth, justice to the world. She's also here about things being in balance and in alignment. She has great opinions about things. She can be very black and white. It's this or that. It's not the grey and the different things in between. No, it's this or that. Yeah, and she can be very fixed and pragmatic and, dogmatic at times around how she is with things. So one of the greatest gifts for the mediator diplomat is to really be mindful that those people in the world that do not have this archetype are going to potentially struggle with how direct you can be about it's this or that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some media diplomats find that really challenging. They're like, I don't get why they can't just see it's this or it's that. And I was like, I have a niece, my 17-year-old niece and my mum both have this archetype. Lots of my friends do. And I'm just like, I don't get why again, when a media diplomat needs to prove that something is right or something is a certain way, they can give so much energy and kind of emotion to it. I'm like, just let it go. What do you mean? I can't let it go. We need to right this wrong. Yeah.
My husband would be one of those.
Yeah. So, and it's just like, I just can't see why you would the way I see it is kind of wasting a lot of energy and a lot of precious kind of emotion that you could channel somewhere else and get a much greater experience of life than being fixed on this thing has to be sorted out. Yeah. Everyone that I have ever worked with that works in the space of money or the legal system has this archetype. Without fail, I'm yet to profile a woman that works here. So whether it's an accountant, a bookkeeper, a money coach, someone that works with money, or someone that works something to do with the legal system, which is a good thing because you want them to have the mediator diplomat archetype. Yeah, they're about that things being fair and right, just, equal, balanced, that kind of thing. This is also the one archetype above the others that has the perfectionist tendency. There are other archetypes that have high standards. So the queen ruler has a level of quality that's really important to her, but this archetype takes it to a whole new level with perfectionism. And sometimes that can be, that's where the challenging bit comes in, is that it's never kind of right. I've never got all my, my I's dotted, my T's crossed. If they've also got the mentor teacher archetype, then they don't know enough either. That's kind of all that the potential challenges actualize is like, well, I still need to learn more before I can put that out there as a program or an offer or something that people can do. So they never kind of necessarily launch or put things out there.
OCD sounds like that too,
It's a very, very specific, exacting archetype. And a lot of the mediator diplomats that I've worked with over such a long time now will often say that this is the one that they feel that they have the greatest challenge of building harmony in terms of a relationship with. They'll often, if she's been given some horrendous names, she gets called the nasty bitch, she's the What someone that the fun police, like all those kind of things. So if someone's got the inspire believer archetype that I talked about before, who's all that excitable energy, when they've then also got the mid-air diplomat, that level of excitement is kind of controlled. And let's just keep that, because, you know, that's a bit frivolous and silly to do that kind of stuff. You know, so mid-air diplomat's very practical, pragmatic, you know, very grounded individuals, but sometimes can then also be stuck in their heads with lots of ideas, and the whole perfectionist thing can be a real challenge for them. So, yeah, if anyone's listened to any of these, we've talked about 5 of the 12 now, then any of them resonate, then, you know, please pop a comment in the group so I'll come in and I'll add, you know, if you've got a question about them, come in and I will happily answer that for you. So that gives you a bit of an idea, or all of us a bit of an idea about more of the archetypes. I could talk about this all day because it's something that's so important to share, but I think we'll stop there in terms of the interactions. So have you got any questions, Steph, for yourself or about anything in general about the Thrive Factor framework?
Well, because I've worked with archetypes before, I kind of know how to, when I read the reports, how to integrate it and use it to my advantage. But I'm pretty sure I was in a mastery course about it, so I had to learn. Yeah. But yeah, it's so interesting. Otherwise, I would have more questions, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time it can be very overwhelming when someone has just learned their archetypes, whether it's the Thrive Factor framework or another kind of framework, or done another self-awareness piece like human design, which is more, you know, focused on astrology, not psychology, as is the Thrive Factor framework. But I think the thing is to come back to, what are the key themes about who I am? So if we look at your 3 archetypes, and the 3, we've got magic, wisdom, and leadership. Yeah, they're the kind of 3 key things. And then we look at sub themes. It's magic and alchemy, so magic and transformation. The mentor teacher is wisdom and looking at, again, your transition, you know, and sharing that. And then the queen ruler, yes, leadership, but it's also about things being beautiful and being quality. Yeah, so they're the kind of the themes to look at. So work on really celebrating those and embodying more of those, and then learn about the strengths of your archetypes so that you can more consciously and intentionally use the strengths, because that will help you then to work with any potential challenges if they become actualized, without you going, let me focus on understanding all the potential challenges, so that if one comes up, I know what to do with it. Just use more of your strengths. Yeah, it's going to really work with it. So that's the simplest way to describe how to get started, when beyond the, now I've just learned about all the stuff that I am, and this is really cool, but now what? Now how do I use it in my life, in my business? So, but yeah, that simplified activating your effortless success zone is just to use more of your strengths, be intentional about how you share who you are in the world, honor who you are, celebrate who you are. So that's the time to share that Steph, some of Steph's words are in this book. So this is my new book that came out in January this year. So January 2022. So braggadocious is what that big word says. The bold art of self-celebration. And what I've done is gone through and talked about celebration in relationship to each of the 12 archetypes. And then I had some incredible women from all over the world that I know offer up some words of how they celebrate. So Steph's words are in this book.
Oh, I know. I've got my book right here.
Yay. Yay.
And I pulled it open and I showed my husband last night. I'm like, oh, let me find my page.
Yes.
I actually have. And he's like, oh, that's cool. And then he gave it back. I'm like, you didn't even read it. Let's see. Where did I get put? Which archetype was it right?
I can't remember now because it was such a blur. I had, there's.
I'm on page 96.
Yeah.
Mediator diplomat.
There you go. Well, we just talked about her, but yeah. So again, I just went my trusted my intuition about where to put people in the book. Some of the women that are in the chapter related to their archetypes because I knew what their archetypes were, but not everybody. So yeah, which was cool. So that's another opportunity for you to read more about your archetypes beyond the Thrive Factor experience report that you'll get, is to have a look at their introductions to them in relation to celebration, now that you know 100% what they are. Yes. So often I find that women will buy a copy of the Thrive Factor book or even Braggadocious now, and they'll be like, I'll just work out what my archetypes are. And yes, you can get a really good sense of who you are. But what I see consistently is when someone actually goes through the profiling experience and does any sort of coaching work, myself or one of the Thrive Factor coaches, they've always got one or two archetypes they're completely off with. Like they
Always.
just, yeah.
It's just like going to Google and searching, and you keep searching. You don't take the first, you get to page 2 because you're waiting to find the one that you want, the answer you want. So you're going to look through this and be like, well, I want to be that. So I'm going to read it and I'm going to say that's mine. And it has nothing to do with what you actually are.
No, that's it, right?
Cannot see the label from inside the bottle.
No, that's it. Now, in saying that, I do very much honor traditional archetypal psychology, and the belief around that was that when whatever archetypal system we're looking at, we have aspects of all of those archetypes within us. But it's your unique profile that is like for you, Steph, it's 3 archetypes. For me, is 4. For other women, it could be 5 or 6. So we all have our own unique combination of archetypes. And this is really how we show up in and interact with the world. And we can often be blinded to a very key, often dominant part of us that other people can see, but we just kind of don't, for whatever reason. Could be because we just have had a not so good relationship with it, or maybe we recognize that archetype in someone else that we know, and for some reason we don't like what we see or what we experience, so we kind of deny that in ourselves. So the joy of being human. Very much so.
I think the leadership thing, like jealous, I guess, like I want to be right there.
Definitely.
Don't like it, but it's who you are.
Yes, that's it. And, interesting that you have the Queen Ruler archetype, and I feel like you have a really good sense of who she is and a good relationship with her. But I have had women that have put off actually meeting their archetypes and actually confirming what they are, who've had the Queen Ruler, other archetypes as well, but the Queen Ruler definitely stands out in my mind, where they've messaged me and they're like, I knew I was going to have her and I didn't want her, because they've had an experience with a very threatened, challenged Queen Ruler who literally has gone around kind of beheading everybody, removing everyone from her life when they didn't kind of fit what the perception of what, that person needed to look like or be like or whatever. So, depending on our relationships with those other archetypes or our own archetypes, we can either feel really excited about meeting that aspect of ourselves, or be like, oh, now what am I going to do? Because I don't want to be like that. I don't want people to think I'm like that. And it's like, no, but you're not. This is why, again, the coaching work makes such a difference, rather than you trying to work out what you are by yourself and hoping you guess right.
No, I get that.
Yeah, for sure.
I love them all.
Yay, I'm glad. I'm very glad. As I said, I'm excited for you to read more about them and to let me know if you have any questions about them, because I'd be more than happy to answer and to support you with that. And if anyone is listening in and they would like to know more about doing a Thrive Factor experience, if it's okay, Steph, I'll put a post up in the group
100%.
With some information about that. And I always, when I've had the opportunity to come and do a live like this and kind of a simulated profiling experience, I always will offer a code. So I have a special code for your community where they can save 30% off either that one-off experience or off the amplified, which is the 3-session experience. So
amazing. Thank you.
So I'll share that. And for those women who are out there and they're like, I want to know my archetypes, I really want to know what they are, but doing that kind of the coaching one-on-one experience, I've actually just launched something brand new into the world, which is a Thrive Factor Insights experience, where you don't get the one-on-one coaching, but you do get to take the assessment. You get your personalized report, and there's some specific questions when you fill that out and invest in that, which then I will come and provide a page view around your archetypes in relation to those questions that you have around your life or business at this particular time, giving you insights into how your archetypes can be positively used to influence. So that's a $280 investment, but I've got it again because it's a brand new thing. There's going to be a code that I'll share for that as well. We can get it for $200. So this is in US dollars. Yeah. And then the Thrive Factor experience is $880 or $1,800 for the 3 package thing, but that'll be 30% off. So I'll put all the details about that so everyone can find those. And if anyone has any questions, please reach out. I'm open to friend requests and that kind of stuff, or DM me, message me, and come and hang out. And in Facebook, or certainly on Instagram is another place that I love to spend a lot of time. So I'll share the link where people can connect with me in all the places. But yes, if you want to know more about who you are, let me know. Yeah.
Post away.
Thanks, darling.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Right, my pleasure. Thank you for saying yes. So, and Steph reached out to me a while ago, I think when when Braggadocious came out, and you're like, come and share the book in the group. I'm happy for you to do that, which I so appreciate. And I was like, wait a second, because I knew I wanted to come back to doing this. I've done some of these live experiences in the past. I wanted to come back. I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to do Steph's. So thank you for being open to having me come and teach in your space and introduce you to your archetypes.
Thank you so much. I am so appreciative. I love it.
Very, very cool. Thanks, everyone. Let us know if you have any questions.
Yes, this replay will be up in the group. If Shannon doesn't care about deleting it or not, I'll leave it up because
I'm happy for it to be left there and for anyone at some point in time to access it. And if you have accessed it through Steph's community and for some reason the savings code has expired at some point in time, reach out. I'll reactivate it for you because I can't remember how long that is. But yeah.
Thank you.
That's a way for me to say thank you to you for letting me come and do this too.
I really appreciate it. I'm so excited. And those are such good prices for what you get, because this stuff, it's psychology based. It's legit. It's not woo, or do you know what I mean? Even though I believe in woo, but
me too.
No negative, but it's stuff that can only help you. Like knowing this psychology stuff and subconscious stuff, it changes the game. Like
it does.
It amplifies, it elevates you, it puts you up here to be able to access and communicate with more people and in a way that is meaningful and gets results.
It does. And it's so nice when I have that feedback from others like yourself who have had this learning with archetypes and with psychology, because I know this from my own lived experience and from working with this framework that I created for over 12 years now. But it's when you hear that from somebody else, you're like, yeah, I know it's important. I know it's good. But if I'm just, saying it over and over again, is it, I've had people say, yeah, but you just say that because you created this thing. It's like, no, this is like a lot of, decades and decades of my nerding out on psychology. Yeah, and Sherry, and instead, and now I've got Thrive Factor coaches out there. So twice a year we do a Thrive Factor coach training. So it's a 6-month certification, and it started out as just learning about profiling, and I evolved it 18 months ago to be a full coaching certification now. So if anyone even is interested about that, please reach out to me. We have the next intake starting in late June, early July of 2022, and then the next one will be January again. So kind of mid-year and beginning of the year, 2 intakes, and it's a beautiful, intimate community right now. I have big visions. My visionary creator archetype has a big vision for how I want to grow that, but I want the right kind of women to come in and to really see an opportunity to work with a framework like this that is proven. It's been out there in the world for 12 years, consistently creating incredible opportunities for women when they know who they are. And it's a way for you to have a different way to work with your clients that may be very unique to other ways that, often, particularly in the coaching space, often we come to coaching, but we don't actually have a framework to help our clients to know who they are. This is an option. So
yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yes.
Very excited. Yes, very honored. Glad I trusted my instincts and went with my own nerding out, my mentor teacher nerding out on wanting to have ways, legitimate, reliable ways for people to understand who they are and to use that. And rather than this being ever seen as a labeling of this is all I am, I see the Thrive Factor framework in each of the archetypes as this is just the beginning of who you are. This is you just kind of whetting your appetite onto all the potential that you have out there in the world, your innate potential. And every time I speak with somebody around their archetypes, I learn more about them and I share as much as I can. And I'm regularly putting out content in relation to them. I've got more books in the creation process at the moment, and I probably will bring the Thrive Factor archetypes into majority of my writing because that's my life's work. And every one of my coaching programs that I run includes the Thrive Factor archetypes in them every single time. So I'm doing one on sales at the moment. So we look at sales and selling and your relationship with sales and selling through the lens of your archetypes.
Nice.
Yeah. So it comes into everything.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. That's cool.
Yeah.
Sales, you need sales if you're in business.
Very, very cool. Yes. So thank you again so much for having me. I so appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. And yay. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was awesome. All right. Well, if anybody has questions, put them in the group. We are going to say adios for now.
Yes.
And yeah, I shall talk to you all later.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.
Bye.